Hello everyone and welcome again to the Changing Minds podcast, season 2. This is episode 8, Why Coaching Matters. Why you could always use a coach. In this particular episode, I want to talk about coaching. And in particular, I want to talk about, well, what's the value of it? And how does it work? And so to hopefully to help you out there get an insight about this whole coaching malarkey. Now, first of all, I do want to say this, and I want to say that there is probably a lot of shitty coaches out there. And I don't mean that to be, mean or whatever. But there is. And the reason I know that is because it's very easy to just turn around and just call yourself a life coach. You can just go around and go, what do you do? Well, I'm a life coach. And really, sometimes that's, translation for, I like to tell other people how to live their lives, even though I don't know how to fucking live my own. So there is a lot of shitty life coaches out there and business coaches out there, but there's also a lot of really great coaches out there. There's a great book called The $1 Trillion Coach. Actually, this is it. $1 Trillion Coach. And before Christmas in 2019, I had the opportunity with a colleague of mine, a friend of mine, Alessio Roberti, and we got to interview two of the authors of that, Jonathan Rosenberg and Alan Eagle. And they wrote the book with Eric Schmidt, who's former CEO of Google. And we got to interview Jonathan and Alan about the book and really the book is about the work of a guy called Bill Campbell. Now, Bill Campbell was a phenomenal coach that he was mainly a team coach, an executive coach. He coached Eric Schmidt. He helped mentored Steve Jobs. He coached Sheryl Sandberg. He coached Jonathan Rosenberg. He coached all of these top people in Silicon Valley. He truly was known as someone who brought an incredible value to the table, which is why they called him a $1 trillion coach, because the amount of people he impacted and the amount of people that he affected in his time in terms of working with people, it was unparalleled. And the book itself is a great book. Highly recommend you get it. And what it really talks about is the value of Bill Campbell's approach to coaching. And in many ways, as you read through it, if you are a coach and you've been trained and you're getting good results, you'll realize an awful lot of the stuff that Bill Campbell did with all these great top business executives are the very same things that you do on an everyday basis with the clients that you work with. And so coaching itself is something that is being taken more and more seriously at the very highest levels. And everybody, or most of the top CEOs out there, are recognizing and realizing the need for getting a coach, getting someone who you can sit down with. So really, what is coaching all about? Why do people need a coach? And how can someone who isn't as successful, how do you coach someone who's at the top of their field when you're not at the top of your field? Well, the reality is because there's a difference between mentoring and coaching. Mentoring implies that you know about the area that you're mentoring them in, whereas coaching, it's not about you. It's about the questions that you ask, and it's about you helping the other person to be able to do, 3 things, to be able to get clarity about what's going on and about where they want to get to improve their development, to be able to develop and learn and grow as a result, and also to inspire and motivate them to be able to do the things that they need to do. And so when we talk about coaching, we're really talking about someone helping you to be able to figure out exactly what's happening and to give you much needed clarity, especially in the modern world. One of the biggest challenges we have is we live in a world of what's often known as signal and noise. In other words, there's a massive amount of noise that we're exposed to on a regular basis. And trying to find the signal is trying to find the clear messages, the clear important things that matter to us in all of this noise. So we are continuously bombarded, for example, in the marketing world with all of these messages. And we have to try to figure out, well, out of all those messages, which are the ones worth us investing our money or time into? Which are the ones worth it? We're trying to look for the signals that make a difference to our lives with all of this noise everywhere around us. So the reason I say that is because your job mainly as a coach is often, as you'll know, to help people to become clear over exactly what's going on. With all the noise they have about themselves, all the stories they tell themselves, all the world that's going on, everything that's happening, they can sometimes struggle with trying to figure out what's up and what's down, what's left and what's right, what's going on. And so your job as a coach is to help ask questions to help them understand a number of things. What do they want to achieve? Where are they right now and what's stopping them? And then helping them to be able to then plot a strategic move forward. We talk about strategy being essential and important in terms of leadership. Well, the reality is that coaching is one of the most important skill sets that you can use in order to help people to become more strategic. Because in many ways, the coaching process is a strategic process. It's about helping people to figure out what strategy they need to build in order to get them from where they are to where they want to go to. Now, there's lots of different models in coaching. There's probably the most famous one. There's like the Clear model. There's the Oscar model. There's also the most famous one would be the Grow model. And the Grow model is very simple. It's set into 4 steps. The first one is G stands for goal, right? So what is it that the person wants? Or often, I mean, sometimes they change the words and the names to keep people guessing. But or stands for reality. So what's the reality, right? Where are you right now? Then the O is the options. So what are the different choices you have? And then W stands for way forward or will. So what is it that you need to do in order to be able to get the result? Now, all of those different ones are good. And to be honest, the Oscar framework and which is like outcome, situation, choices, action, and review and all that sort of stuff, and even the Clear perspective, they all sort of, those models, which are also the acronym models, they all play into the same very basic idea that comes from the Grow model, right? So the only bits and pieces that might be added is, okay, well, after the way forward, then you might do a review. So you could go grower, which just sounds weird. But with all those models, to me, they're useful, they're good. The model that I like to use is a little different, because what I tend to do is, when I was figuring out what I do when I'm coaching effectively, is really I have 4 steps as well, but the 4 steps is slightly different. That is, first of all, yeah, we established the goal. But the second one for me is actually the challenges. So first is, what do you want? Second is, what stops you? So what is in the way? What are the problems and obstacles in your way? And as opposed to the reality, which might be, well, where am I right now? I'm presupposing that there's certain things that are stopping you from achieving what it is that you want. The reason I do that is because it's not simply, it's not as clear cut as, right, where am I? What do I want? And what are my options? And right, let's do the way forward. There's always bad shit that's going to stop you. I mean, I come from Ireland. We have Murphy's Law. Whenever can go wrong, will go wrong. And it'll go wrong at exactly the worst time. So I know that when I'm working with clients, nothing I say to them, they're just going to go, oh, really? Okay. And then execute it straight away. The majority of people, when they try to make something happen, some bad shit happens to stop them. There's always impediments, always things that get in their way, always problems that crop up as they pursue their goals, as they try to achieve it. And I want us, when I'm coaching someone, when I work with top executives, I want them to know ahead of time, what are those things that will get in their way? So when I ask the challenging questions, when I ask what's stopping the person from achieving what they want, when I do dig deep into what are the real reasons as to why they're not achieving what they want, invariably what comes up is they're forced to reckon with the very things that are impeding them and stopping them from achieving what it is that they truly want to succeed in. And by me asking the questions, identifying what's stopping them, they're able to get a great insight and understanding as to, okay, based upon that, then this is what I need to start to do. And then the next step I give them is, well, what can you do about it? So what are the resources that you have available to you? The physical resources or even the mental resources? What are the different resources that you can use to be able to help you to overcome those obstacles or challenges to achieve your goal? And then lastly, the strategy. And to me, it's not just about the way forward. It's about cultivating cleverly, or even reverse engineering cleverly, exactly what you need to do to take the resources that you have and to apply those resources to the particular problems that might be stopping you from achieving your goal, so that you can start to build and create the kind of future, the kind of life that you want, that you deserve. So in other words, it's about you being able to be more strategic in your life, to start to move forward in the trajectory that gets you the kind of results that you want. And so what I'm hoping that you're getting from this is that this whole process of being able to go from where you are to where you need to be, if you try to get there yourself, sometimes you can self-coach yourself, you can work with yourself, but having someone that's unbiased, having someone outside of yourself that is coaching you through, that's experienced, that can ask the right questions, they can help you recognize what's blindsiding you, what blind spots you have, what mistakes you might be making. One of the great things Bill Campbell would do is he would get people to be aware of themselves. He would teach people to be more self-aware by him reflecting back to them the kind of things that were cropping up. So he was able to spot what people were making a mistake in. And by working and coaching them on that, he wasn't just coaching you to improve it. He was getting you to recognize it first and foremost. So you develop a sort of sense of self-awareness. and you develop a sense of understanding what's going on in your life, understanding why you're not getting what it is that you want. Because all too often, like I talked about last week, we buy into these narratives and stories that we tell ourselves about why we are the way we are. And oftentimes we create excuses that limit us. And instead, what we need to do is we need to recognize that those excuses are the problem. It's not the content that the excuses are about that are the problem. It's the fact that we're making the excuse itself. So when you're working with a coach, the coach will help you to be able to identify, well, what are your strengths? Well, what are you good at? What are you not so good at? What resources could you use? What people do you know? What relationships do you need to work on better? How are you working as effectively as a team? It starts to really ask you to do an inventory of, right, well, where are you right now? And if we do take the reality of the grow model seriously, we need to go, right, well, in all areas, not just in this particular goal you want to achieve, but in all different aspects, how are you doing? So how are you with your health? How are you with your relationships? How are you in your spirituality? How are you with your fitness? How are you with your finances? All of these questions should be asked, and we don't want these to be asked sometimes. But you know, we don't always want to go to the dentist, but we need to sometimes because it's what's good for us. And a great coach is the ability to help you to get out of your own way, to help you get clear over exactly what's going on. Now, there's some, like I said, coaches out there that don't give a shit, that are literally market themselves as coaches. They'll speak to, either A, they'll speak to you for an hour, or B, they'll just tell you what you want to hear. And in both cases, maybe they're great at marketing themselves. But if you truly want to be able to improve yourself as a leader or yourself as a person, coaching is a great tool if you can find somebody that is skilled in terms of helping you to be able to develop. What to look for in a coach? Well, a skilled coach is going to ask you the tough questions as well as the good questions. They're not just going to motivate you with all of these stories. They're going to be really listening to you, and they're going to be responding to your needs. They're going to be helping you to identify what's really going on. And they're going to help you to be able to grow and build the resources that you need in order for you to be able to build a strategy that gets you to move forward. They'll tell you things as they see them, and they will reflect back the reality to you so you can be more self-aware, and then you can make the decision of what you need to do in that context. Coaching is one of the most valuable tools out there. Obviously, I recommend that if you're working with a coach, you should find somebody that's got NLP experience as well, because obviously NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming, is a wonderful, phenomenal tool that will help people massively. But when you do go through coaching, I'm sure that you'll find yourself being able to get more clarity and more understanding about what you need to do to achieve your vision. And I believe that coaching is something that's only at its infancy right now. I think you're going to see a lot more people, just like all the top people in Silicon Valley seem to be getting a coach. You're going to see a lot more CEOs, a lot more people out there, high performers, using coaches. We could all use a coach because a coach helps us to see what we can't. It helps us to get rid of any of the blind spots that get in our way. And it helps us to be able to start to move forward towards the kind of life that we want to live a lot more. So, without any further ado, thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Changing Minds podcast. For those of you watching on YouTube or Instagram Live or wherever you're watching this, thanks very much. Please subscribe to the podcast. Follow me on Instagram. Subscribe to me on YouTube. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes. Download all the episodes. I'll be your best friend. Seriously though, please do. And I'll keep continuously coaching you. It's kind of coaching, but not so much. For the future. For now, I'm Owen Fitzpatrick. By the way, thank you for all your support and all the ways you've already shared this with lots of people. I do appreciate it. But for now, I'm Owen Fitzpatrick. I will talk to you very, very soon.